Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Hair thinning can happen for so many reasons. Whether it's stress or hormones or anything, at Nutrafol we've learned that real change starts below the surface. Our hair growth supplements take a whole body approach and target the key root causes of hair thinning, so you can see visibly thicker, stronger hair in 3 to 6 months.
Hair growth starts from the inside at Nutrafol.com. That's Nutrafol.com.
Welcome to another Finely Edged production for the Premier League Cricket Club. Connecting players and coaches, clubs and leagues, volunteers and supporters alike, you're in the right place for the best of the 33 ECB Premier Leagues and the 20 NCCA counties, bringing you the stories, the stats and the standout performances that make this game great. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to both our Premier League and NCCA shows so you don't miss any episodes. Now, shall we get stuck in? Welcome everybody to the Premier League Cricket Show, and we're doing something again slightly different, as has been the theme with our shows at the start of 2025. We've spoken to a number of people who not would be described as Premier League cricketers first and foremost, but their interest and how they're involved in the game is definitely Premier League all the way. So for the first time ever, we're talking to somebody tonight who is a nominated Young Actor of the Year. Slightly strange even by our standards. Joining us tonight is the director of cricket, though, from Castleford Cricket Club in Yorkshire. That's far more important to anyone who knows what we think about. Mr. Colson Smith, how are you doing, mate?
Hello. Thanks very much for having me. I think I've definitely achieved more cricketing accolades than I have acting from from my brief CV that you've just read out, I reckon.
CVs are CVs, but it's all about the people to me, definitely. And for those who don't know, and I have to bring it up straight away, it's a bit like the Gary Pratt white elephant we got out of the room very quickly. Colson might be known better to a few people as Craigie Tinker on Coronation Street. To me, I've got no idea because I don't watch Coronation Street and haven't done for God knows how long. And to me, Colson is the nut job who was bouncing up and down trying to get a ball off the nets at the White Rose final between Richmondshire and Newfoundland last year at his club Castleford. Because that's what we do as directors of cricket and people who run cricket clubs. And that's what you do, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, literally. I think the reason I love it is because it is so far removed from the day job. Monday to Friday, I can be doing the most bizarre things with the most bizarre people. And then I can go to Savile Park on Saturday. I can watch Cass and someone will come up to me and say, sorry, there's no toilet roll in the ladies. And I'd be like, all right, I'll sort it. And it's like, I wouldn't change it for the world because, I first went to Cass when I was 9 years old. I went down any junior route. I joined to play in the teams and kind of fell in love with cricket that way. And I think it's always been a place where I felt safe and it's always been a place where I felt normal. And no matter what's been going off in my career, Cass has always been the same stable. And it's obviously in recent years, probably the past 7-8 years, it has been my passion project that has literally, it's been amazing.
Yeah, I get that impression, and having spoken to you a number of times, I met you up at Cass last year. Without a shadow, you love your acting, you love your work, and you're passionate about your work. But it isn't your passion. We spoke to Nigel Martin not too long ago in the autumn, and Nigel was the same. He loved his football, and he made a bloody good career out of it. But his passion and his first love was cricket. That's you.
Yeah, definitely. And I like you said, I do love my work, but there is nothing better, and there has been nothing more rewarding. And I've said this. I've said this to like the lads at Cass, and me and Wayne have sat down one day, and I was like, so far in my life, the biggest achievement is winning the White Rose final. I was like, whatever I've done, 14 years on Corrie, various reality shows, like the best thing I've done, the best thing I've achieved is what we've achieved with Cass so far. And it's that bit of it's just it's so rewarding because it's something that like really matters and I really care for. And it is, it's a complete love affair. And everyone you speak to, I imagine, Ian, that they will tell you that their club is different, but I will tell you that there is no place like Cass. Like that grass is the greenest grass in the world, and people come and they stay and they fall in love with it, and I'm one of those people.
I've got to ask the obvious question. You were born not in Cass, though.
Yeah,
How the
yeah.
hell did you end up from Dorchester to Castleford? I mean, that's a jump and a half.
So the story is randomly lived in Dorset. Was born in a little village was born in Dorchester Hospital. Like grew up in a little village called Winterbourne Houghton, which literally had about 8 houses in it. And my dad, avid Leeds United fan. And my dad and my sister had season tickets. I was too young to start with. And they
Season
used
tickets
to
to Ellen Road
yes,
from Dorset.
yes. When Leeds were in the Champions League. So they used to drive to Ellen Road on a Wednesday night and then do the 7-hour commute back. And in effect, my dad got offered another job and they had to relocate. And obviously, he basically wanted to relocate as close to Leeds as he possibly could. And they kind of viewed all the outskirting areas, and Castleford was the place that they found. So I moved there when I was 6 years old. So whenever I go back to Dorset, I am completely known as like a townie.
Yeah.
They say that I don't have a nice voice like I used to. I now have a Yorkshire voice, and that I've been disowned, and now I'm a Yorkshireman.
And you got your family, I'm guessing, are back in Dorchester and around that area anyway. But apart from the close family, will obviously moved up to Cass.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, there's not many left now in Dorset. It's more family friends really that are there. The family friends that you call your uncle and auntie that aren't your uncle. It's them, and they're the ones who. I mean, they still call me CJ, and in their house they don't have Wi-Fi. So I think when I tell them what I do for a living, they think I'm making it up.
That sounds about right. But then, some would argue what you do for a living isn't doing something for a living.
Yes, that is true.
Although you're not paid the way the footballers are, clearly,
No, yeah.
to say the least. But that aside, what you do for a living does give you a little bit of scope and a little bit of time to do what you do for Castleford and, be director of cricket. And, we were talking off air, and I'm going to bring it up straight away. How did that come about? Because for you to be a director of cricket, when most people would look at your play cricket stats and go, what's going on here? How did you end up as director of cricket at a very, very big club, well known across Yorkshire?
Yeah, it's funny enough, you mentioned the play cricket stats, and that is probably one of the reasons I did end up as a director of cricket, because from a very young age, I was socially aware. So even in the under 15s, I knew I wasn't very good at cricket. So I knew if I wanted to be involved, I was going to have to be involved in a different way as to, not playing. And I was invited onto the committee as the junior rep. So I was on the committee at Cass as the junior rep. And then one night there was an AGM. And I went to this AGM with my dad. And I reckon I was 15. And it was the year that the Yorkshire League was disbanding. Mm-hmm. So the start of what is now the Premier League pyramid. Yeah. But it's not a pyramid anymore, is it? It's a rectangle. But yeah, that's another thing.
No, there's five. There's five now. So
yeah, what is it? A pentagon. So and that night, like the crop that were running the cricket club, the old guard as such, they all stood down one by one. It was literally like a mass exodus, and it was in effect, as far as we're going, if nothing happens tonight, we're contacting the ECB to tell them that the club's going.
What reason were they all stepping down at the same time in particular?
I think the end of the Yorkshire League was a travesty, and I don't quite think at the time everybody realised, but I think the people who were running Cass were aware of what it was going to mean for Cass. It was going to leave clubs behind. And Cass were a club that were definitely going to get left behind. It's a working class area that is dominated by rugby league. It didn't have a bar. It didn't have any way of bringing funds in. It was a hand-to-mouth club that had coached very good players and made professional cricketers and survived on its reputation. So Cass would get players at the age of 14 and they would play them until they got signed for the academy at Yorkshire or until they got pro contracts, and they would just keep doing that. They would give opportunities to young players. And whereas the times were changing, money was coming into cricket more, and as the leagues were splitting, there was no long, the Yorkshire League didn't have promotion relegation. So they were going into a league that had relegation. Yeah. And at the time, Cass, I think, were down to lose 7 players. So whatever they were going to do was going to need a miracle.
Yeah.
And the likelihood was they were always going to get relegated in that first season, because no matter how young you went, they were never going to be able to compete against your Yorks, your Scarboroughs, your Driffields, all the teams that were in that North. And those ones who came from, the York and District League, who have now strengthened that league, those teams also had teams of wealth and, who were putting out better sides than Castleford. So I think they kind of were smart. They could read the future, and they knew that Cass couldn't have survived with them. And I think the decision was made that was just that Cass couldn't survive. And that was the vibe that night. And
somebody needs to step up, otherwise it was curtains Cass.
Yeah, and it was literally probably seconds away from that. And a man called David Young, who was the chairman in the 90s when Cass had kind of a really quite influential side, Gary Keady, Tim Bresnan, Michael Foster, Richard Kettleborough, that kind of team of the 90s. He stood up and said, well, if no one's going to do it, I'll do it, but I need some help. And for some reason, the person he looked at when he said, I need some help, was the 15-year-old.
Junior rep.
Yeah, the junior rep. And he basically said, can you help us get some sponsorship in? And I said, yeah, I'll try my best. So I spoke to mates through football and said, can we do this? And at the time, my best childhood friend, Liam Hyde, was a very good cricketer. And Dave basically said, get us some sponsorship and get us Liam Hyde. So I went and I did just that. And then it kind of snowballed from there. The key factor for Cass, like I said off air to you, was Wainers. So that year, David Wainwright, who has been at Cass all of his life, he'd been released by Derbyshire. And I obviously...
A legend at Derbyshire as well.
Yeah, criminal that he'd been released. But it was kind of, what was Dave going to do? Where was Dave going to go and play?
Yeah.
And, DY went to meet Wainers and basically got Wainers to agree to give us a year and be captain. And it was from that we kind of had... That gave us enough to give it a go.
Right.
And we gave it a go. We got relegated. Got relegated in that first year with Dave won the batting averages, won the bowling averages, and played for Hampshire in that year because Dawson got called up to England and they needed a left-arm spinner. So Dave's hometown club has just got relegated and then he had to go and play for Hampshire that week. But it kind of came from that. And then me and Wayne sat down and we went, well, we can't do it, can we, if we've been relegated? And we kind of sat down, we wrote out a 5-year plan on the back of a Nando's menu, and we said, let's just give this a go. Let's try and aim for this. And it was year 1 promotion. Can we sign an experienced batter? Can we sign a young seam? And we just set out this really simple plan. And Wainers basically would tell me what he wanted. I would suggest players. I would get them in the room. We would sit and talk to them, and we would just get them to sign for Cass.
So it was the 15, 16-year-old using his profile to get players to actually come and have a chat.
Yep.
And it was Wainers with experience and all of his wily know-how as a spinner, which is obviously translates somewhere in the brain as well, to say, come and sign for us, and selling the dream effectively of rebuilding the club by the sounds of things.
Yeah, being part of something, I think that was kind of the amount of we actually sat down, ironically, Matty Rees, who is our opening bowler, and he's quite a force in like Yorkshire as a seamer. He's also at Cambridge minor counties. When we sat down with him, Matty's the same age as me, and he said, "I'm glad you're not one of those clubs with a something 5-year plan." Me and Wayne has looked at each other and
Oh.
went, "Actually, we have got one." And it's quite funny because, I think it was a period of time where lots of clubs were doing that sort of thing.
Well, Club Mark was driving it. That's what you had to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But me and Dave we had different levels and different motivation. And I mean, it's really interesting because Wayne is giving his playing years to Cass was kind of the motivation to get it right.
Yeah.
We're getting it right for him. And then you just fall more and more in love with the club, don't you? So you start doing more and more. And, it didn't take much. Obviously, we got promoted first year back. The second year back, we basically said, right, we want to be, we want to be stable. And I think we finished 7th. And then it was like our year 3, it was beat the teams at the top. So it was kind of beat those teams that are 1 and 4. And then in the 4th year, we won everything.
And it was basically get to that point that you're going to get to you're going to win the league and get into the White Rose semi-finals.
Yeah.
All the way.
To be fair, like Wayners will say the White Rose was never even on the radar. Like it didn't even seem like something that could ever possibly happen.
Yeah.
That year, I was sold on the fact that this was our year for everything. But it's the first year the club had it's the first year the club had won the league since 1961.
Wow.
So winning the league was the achievement.
50 plus years, that's something, isn't it, to come from that.
And we won the league with a team of 21-year-olds.
I'm sure there's lots of people listening could tell very similar stories of clubs around the country, but not to that degree, I'd suggest, because to be losing 7 players at any point for any club is just it's a travesty more than anything. And then to spend 2 or 3 years rebuilding it and getting to basically the top of the echelon again. And for those of you who don't know who are listening, I'm going to be very open about this. The leagues that these guys play in up north, they're as strong as they get.
Yeah.
I would put some of these clubs up in Yorkshire up against practically anybody in the country. And that's not being a disservice to other people, but the competitive nature around the Yorkshire North League in particular, I'd say, is possibly second to none, isn't it?
It's strong cricket. I mean, I watch a lot of cricket. I watch a lot of Premiership cricket especially, and it's strong cricket. There's nothing that kind of excites you more than like a Cass York, like, especially now with those two sides. Cass, you've got ex-pros in Wayners and Chesney Hughes. York, you've got Tom Loughton, you've got Will Frayne. Like you've got some really, really exciting players and teams that are all there to play cricket, and that's the bit that I do see different at times. There's different styles of cricket, especially in Premier. You'll see it even in Yorkshire. I think me and you discussed this. There are different styles of cricket. The Yorkshire Premier League North, you see bowlers trying to work batters out, and you see batters taking on bowl. You see real battles, and I really enjoy it.
And I saw possibly, I've described it to people before, the day we met at your place for the White Rose final.
Yeah.
Saw one of the. It was a top level contest between Gary Pratt and Alex Lilly.
Yeah.
I mean, they were going at it for over after over. I took far too many videos of the two of them going at it. But that was county players playing at the absolute highest level still, wasn't it?
It's top cricket. I mean, Ed Morrison, who's our ginger-haired off spinner, he stands at mid-on, mid-off for Cass. And whenever a pro walks out to bat and Wayners is bowling, Ed will literally, it's a bit of a mick take to the Bradford League, but Ed will say, this is what you pay your £3 to watch. Yeah. And you see some serious battles. And that's what Premiership cricket's about. You get to see the best of the best. And that's why I love the Cups as well, because you get to see the teams that you wouldn't always see, and you get those battles. And yeah, it really it is strong. The cricket is strong.
Would it be right in saying, though, and I'm picking up on what you've already said, that the split of the Yorkshire League you were not a fan of
No.
in the slightest? Where do you sit with it now? I think it's 10 years old this year, isn't it? The new Pentagon and such. Where do you sit with it now? Because it's moved on quite a lot.
It has moved on quite a lot. I think it needs looking at.
Right.
I believe that as we're talking about good cricket and good battles, I think the top 5 of every Premier League in Yorkshire is very, very, very good.
Yeah.
I think that's what the attraction should be in. And if you had a Yorkshire League like we had previously, every single week you would be having cup finals, you'd be having massively contested games, and it would probably give the teams who are not in the top 5 chances to really develop players, because you can't really develop a side in Premiership cricket at the moment, because the likelihood is you'll get relegated. Whereas in the old Yorkshire League, you could. So if there was a league that had the best of the best fighting it out, and then there was other leagues that had teams with the opportunities to get stronger, it would be an attraction. The main reason for stopping the Yorkshire League was travel. And now I fear that if you ask any Premiership cricketer if they would travel to play in the best game they could play in at the weekend, we know what their answer would be.
Go on, what do you think? Because I know what I think.
I think the answer is yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Anyone who's listened to this pod from the beginning will know that I don't believe there'll be 33 Premier Leagues in the next 5 to 10 years' time. I think there's far too many. And not only is there far too many, I think the fact that the amount of different sets of rules, regulations around the 33 Premier Leagues, I describe it as just one word. It's a joke.
Well, explain to me how, if we've now got 5 Premier Leagues in Yorkshire,
White Rose.
we also play 3 different sets of rules. So the White Rose final, when we played in it, we were like, we can bowl 15 overs.
Yeah.
Mint. We get 2 extra overs of Wayners and Ed Morrison. Absolute result. I wish we could have had this every single game of the year. We'd have won the league by August.
Yeah.
We
commented this week. We did it. We commented in December, and we've commented this week that our local league, the Derbyshire League, the Premier League clubs have voted to play ECB 50 over rules.
Okay.
And last night, gives a clue to when we recorded this, at the AGM, Div 1 also said they're going to do the same. And I applaud that, because as far as I'm concerned, there's only one set of 50 over rules that everyone should be playing. And they're the ones that are played at the World Cup all the way down to the Metro Bank, and then it should be the same all the way through. But we've got 33 leagues around the country that play a hodgepodge and a mixed match of rules left, right and centre, which means it's ultra impossible to compare like for like. It's almost impossible to compare like for like in Yorkshire to start with.
Yeah.
That makes it even madder. But then it means that we're all trying to do different things. The guys in Liverpool still play win, lose, draw, and you can tie someone up at one end with God knows how many overs. Now, I love a draw, don't get me wrong, but not anymore on a Saturday cricket. That's not my personal. And I think that's where you come from. It's finding that it's got to be similarities. We've got to be able to do what's best for the cricket, full stop.
Yeah, I think, obviously, I know the ECB are aware of it and Yorkshire are aware of it. I don't think anyone knows the answer. I think their fear is that there are too many teams in such a small distance that all have the strength to be playing in the same league.
Yeah.
But making 5 leagues isn't the answer, because you can't fit all the teams into one.
And do we know what's going to happen at the end of the season yet?
No, I mean, I don't quite know what has been said to the Huddersfield League. I'm not sure what they've been told about, the whole the whole pyramid kind of setup.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting. And then also, I know, obviously, I don't think it's any secret that I'm also a massive fan of the White Rose final should be held at Headingley. Obviously, we held it at Cast last year, but when I accepted it, I said yes. However, this game should be held at Headingley.
Yeah,
and I think Yorkshire are aware of that, and I think they're actually trying to facilitate it into the calendar, but it's looking to be in the middle of summer. So whether there will be a White Rose final next year,
right,
or whether it'll be played in
maybe the year after.
2026
Yeah, yeah.
is another thing. But yeah, I don't think there's been any like indication as to what the go is going to be with that.
I'm with you there, Colson. Hugh and I would be 100% behind that, because when it came to the club championship final last year, whilst we had a phenomenal day at Worcester County Cricket Club, and Joe and the boys down there looked after us, and we had a great day with Brentwood and Northern. But the one question on everyone's lips with the club championship final was, why is it at Worcester? Why aren't we at Lords? This is the ECB's Premier Cup for the entire country. Now, thankfully, this year, it's back at Lords. It's on a Saturday, and it's the last Saturday of the season for some clubs, which is quite interesting. But actually, it's on a Saturday, it's at Lords, and guess what? We'll be there. The same goes for Yorkshire clubs. It's the dream to go and play at Headingley. We know in Derbyshire, Hugh, we have clubs play at Derbyshire County Cricket Club. I think there's 4 finals now, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah, they do a good job. They do a good job getting teams at Derbyshire. It's not quite the same as Headingley versus Derbyshire, but it is our Lords. It's our Mecca. One thing we do have to say, the food was pretty good at Worcestershire. At Worcester, wasn't it? We had a nice feed, but the Lords feed, if we could worm our way in the press box again, I'm all for that. So
we ain't worming our way. We are the media.
There we go. Well, it's a bit different at Lords. So Colson, we need you to get us into the Headingley press box when this game is back at back at where it should be.
Yeah, definitely. I think I can see. I would imagine that there'll be something announced from like the Yorkshire Cricket Board in relevant time, because they're as aware of it as we are. I think they did suggest dates, but they suggested dates in October, where it's like it's the pinnacle of
it was
cricket.
cold enough at the end of bloody September at your place.
Yeah, I mean, we did well to get that game on, Ian. Like the weather that we had in that week, and they couldn't cut the outfield. They couldn't cut the outfield on Tuesday, Wednesday, and it got to Thursday. And I said, if you do not cut this outfield, there's going to be hell. And they cut it, but bits of it were like rolled mud. But it was like it needed to be cut to be played on.
You got the game on, didn't you? Let's go back to the director of cricket role. So, to recap, club's almost on its arse. The committee have disappeared. You and David Young have taken over. You've got Wayners to come in and go, we'll help them sell the dream and move things on. On a day-to-day basis now for you, what does that mean as director of cricket for Castleford?
Well,
apart from Lou Rolls when the...
Yeah. I mean, director of cricket is the most glamorous title in the world for the most unglamorous job, because, at times, I've done everything from designing the kits to making sure that stuff's on time, to organising pre-season friendlies. The job isn't just getting 11 players out on a Saturday.
Yeah.
It's like at the moment, my current cricket to-do list is change the CCTV subscription, to redo the T20 order. And let me tell you what else is on it, because it's right in front of me. And I know there's something else just as exciting. The till payment system, because I've paid too much in card fees, so I'm changing the till system.
Bit of Izettle action coming your way, is it?
Yeah, I want a cheaper setup. So it literally is. It's kind of...
It's a general management role.
Yeah, it's running a club, isn't it? And most of these Premiership clubs are ran by teams of 10. Mm-hmm. We're a team of 4.
You, Mr. Young, Wayners, and...
Martin Gibson.
And in terms of bringing the team to the pitch on a Saturday, though, do you leave that to Wayners and the gang? Or are you involved, for example, in what I've described as one of the biggest transfers of the winter so far?
Yeah. So in effect, obviously, so our first team captain is Callum Rowe now.
Yeah.
So we all know, I've been saying for years, the writing on the wall here is that Wayners takes my job. Like, that has to be what happens for us. Mm-hmm. So obviously, Rowe is the first team captain. Dave is focusing on enjoying, he's 40 this year. The focus is on him enjoying his cricket.
Absolutely.
He took 80 league wickets last year, so I think
he enjoyed it.
He's performing better as a player than he did in his time as captain. Mm-hmm. So in terms of those kind of player movement meetings, we had a problem at number 3. So we recruited someone to sign free last year, and after a while, it wasn't quite working. We wanted Ches to bat 4 and kind of dominate against spin, and wasn't quite working for Ches. And then Scott, who was batting at 3, wanted to kind of drop down lower. And after a while, I kind of, had said to Callum, what are you thinking? And Callum had said, we'll see how this weekend goes and then we'll make a change. And did make a change. I think the season finished, Ches was batting 1, Callum was batting 3, Scott was batting 6. So when it came down to it, we was like, right, what is our problem position? And it was still number 3.
Yeah.
So Wayne has basically sat down with me and he was like, we need a number 3. Okay. So I need you to tell me who you think the best number 3s are in Yorkshire. And now I don't do fantasy cricket anymore because we've learnt the hard way of you speak to someone and they might have been at their club for 10 years or they might be on a gigantic pay package. It might be something, just a complete pipe dream. So I was listing players and Dave just kept saying no. And I was like, who do you want me to say here? And I went, not Badger, who is Chris Holliday. And Dave went, bingo. And he was like, I coach a lad at Stumps before a game on Saturday at 9 a.m. I see Chris hitting balls at 9 a.m. And at the...
On a Saturday morning.
On a Saturday morning. We played Townville in the regional T20 finals at Middlesbrough. And Chris hit 80 odd against us. They knocked us out. And he reverse swept Callum for 16, 4 fours in a row. And Wayne has said when he was doing that, I didn't even blink because I've seen him do it at 9 a.m. on a Saturday every single week. So Dave was like, we need someone who is so invested in their game and is so determined to score runs that they're that cutthroat. And luckily...
And just down the road as well.
And he happens to be just down there. And luckily for us, Liam Hyde, our wicketkeeper, is best friends with Chris. So I kind of every now and then I'll ask like one of the lads to just go for a lap. And I'll just like ask a few questions. And I took Liam on a lap and I said, I need to speak about Smith. It's not going to happen. And then I said, Dave wants Chris Holliday. And Liam was like, not a chance. Like, scored 1,000 runs at Townville. Like, he won't be interested. And I said, yeah, I know. I've said exactly the same thing. And I said, just if you see him, just say, Colson and Wayners were asking after you. That Monday, I think, after the Saturday, I got a phone call. And he said there would only be one club that I'd move to. And we got him in the room about a week later. And when he was in the room, there was no way he was leaving without signing for Cass. It was quite clear that he wanted to come. And, testament to Chris, the reason that Chris wants to come to Cass is because he wants to prove that he can be the best.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that was his decision, was that he wanted to go to a team that had players who he wants to take on the task of being better than, which as a director of cricket as such, I admire because, if you want to compete against the likes of Rowie, Chesney, Wayners, Reese to be the best in that side, it's brilliant. Competition's so healthy.
Chris was putting the Yorkshire North League above the Bradford League there as well. That's where he wanted the competition.
Yeah. He obviously it's a league he's not played in, which is attractive to any player. But he's seen a fair bit of our cricket, and he wanted a bit of it. Yeah.
I just wonder, Hugh, whether Chris Holliday, I'm looking at the date that I saw that announcement on the 3rd of November. I wonder whether he also knew that Dushan Vimukti was not going back to Townville then. Because losing Dushan is, that's the big one for them as well. To lose those two at the same time is massive. And Townville have got to recruit extremely well to replace those two, haven't they?
Well, Townville's an interesting one because they're not a big side, are they? They don't. From the outside, certainly don't have that depth that many of these other teams do. So to lose those two guys, they haven't got
a bar. So it's a very interesting club, I think. Townville
do recruit very well. They're well run. And obviously they've got quite a lot of like good, like strong financial support behind them, and they are similar to Cass. LP and Dave who run Townville. They love the club. And they're kind of similar to me and DY in the way that they're hungry enough to really make it work for Townville. Like I really like them. To say we're literally 2 miles away and we've both got two of the strongest teams in Yorkshire is quite something.
That's where I get my head in a bit of a tiz about the Yorkshire. I love the Yorkshire Four Leagues, 5 now. But that when I go that your localist rival, you don't get to play them unless it's in the T20.
Yeah.
2 miles apart. And yet the number one reason for the breaking up of the Yorkshire League back in 2015 was travel.
Yeah.
And you're not
Yeah.
playing the most local. That's where it becomes a bit strange, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's like the amount of teams now that are similar to Cass were in 2015. The amount of teams that are being given the option of what league do you want to join, the North, the South, or the Bradford League?
Mm-hmm.
Because
the Huddersfield League's not far now, is it? I mean,
no, yeah, like it's literally a hop, skip, and a jump, isn't it? But and I imagine the North, ironically, probably has the most travel because you know, Cass to Scarborough is a fair trek.
How long did it take you? Hour and a half?
Takes me a bloody long time from Manchester, I'll tell you that.
Automatic, yeah.
Well, I drove to Scarborough the other day and it took bloody. I thought got to Hull, thought nearly there, and it was an hour and 15, I think, from near Hull.
Yeah, and you keep going. I remember, I think the Yorkshire League, I would imagine Sheff Collegiate to Scarborough that was the longest journey in the Yorkshire League.
Yeah, that would be. I mean,
That's a 2-hour drive.
I'm 50 minutes from Sheffield, so I understand that. It's fascinating to know that a club that has been on its knees, let's put it that way, has been able to come back to become one of the strongest clubs in the Yorkshire Leagues now and in the Yorkshire North League. But where do you think you could take the club in the next 2, 3, 4 years? Besides the fact that you're going to step down because obviously Wayners is going to take over by the sound of it.
There's no doubt that in Dave's last playing years, this is as hot as Cass are going to be for a very, very long period of time. You know, whilst we've got Wayners, we have Chesney, and whilst we have them two, we can pretty much recruit any player that we want to recruit. So now is the time for us to make some history.
Yeah,
I'd love to win the White Rose again. Like, I would love to. But then to do that, you've got to win your first game of the season. You've got to win the league.
Yeah.
The dream is to have a year where we dominate. You know, if we could do the League Cup, the league, the Heavy Woolen, the White Rose in a year, I'd be a very, very happy boy.
That's when you would retire and just say, Wayners, you can have it.
I think that'll come regardless. But no, yeah, I think it is hard because having won the White Rose, all that is left to do is to better or equal that. So it's like, for example, winning the league in 2023 and losing to Sheff Collegiate, and we were a no-show in that semi-final on that day, a real damp squib, and it made us realise that it wasn't about, like, yes, we celebrated winning the league, but then if you win the league, you've got to make the most of it.
Yeah,
you've got to kind of kick on and take those next 2 games because you know it's a golden ticket. So yeah, so I think in terms of the next level stuff, that is obviously where I'd want to take it. And then on a bigger picture, for me, I want to leave a self-sufficient club.
The one thing you've not mentioned is what's happening to make it self-sufficient, because I've seen firsthand what you've got front of house.
Yep.
You know, you've got the David Wainwright Terrace.
Yep.
Which week in, week out, when the weather's nice, is just bloody, it's milking it for you, isn't it? There's no.
Well, I only built that this time last year.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a big step. Making the club self-sufficient has been a bigger plan. Aside from the 5-year plan on the field, it's almost like a 12-year plan to make the club.
It includes juniors, because if you haven't got them coming through, you're screwed.
It includes so much, and this kind of junior, and I want to be a heart in the community. I want Castleford to be the place. So when I was at school, all the kids played rugby at the rugby club. So why can't all the kids play cricket at the cricket club? And it's that bit. So we basically, we built the Wainwright Terrace and we launched it opening the bar on a Friday night. And the idea was that I have put on a coach on a Friday night and it's a free session for everyone to attend, and it's like a drop-in for kids. And we do kids from the age of 6 all the way through to like our age groups net on that night. And that has kind of seen us go from having, your standard under 11s, under 13s, under 15s, under 17s. It's under 18s now, isn't it? But right through to a core of new blood who have never been to the club before. And then it brings new parents in, it brings new families in, and it really has completely developed the club, because some kid who has come down for a free coaching session, whose parent has gone, bloody hell, it's nice here. And then they've brought their cousin down, and their cousin's gone, oh, actually, I'm having a baby shower in like October. Is there any chance I could book? And it's that. And that's what I mean by a community.
Yeah.
But the thing that is responsible for it all, ultimately, is juniors and cricket.
Mm-hmm. You're in a unique position in sort of your neck of the woods, and that round here, everyone's competing against football, where you're competing against football and rugby league.
And rugby league, yeah.
So you've got that twofer. So, and I'm hoping the rugby league season doesn't crash into the cricket season like the football does. But when we were talking to the lads from Townville, it was like everyone grows up wanting to play rugby league.
And
they don't grow up.
Yeah, and they've made rugby league a bit of a spring summer sport, haven't they? Which isn't ideal.
Of course, forget about that.
Yeah, isn't ideal for cricket.
Is that the same with juniors? They play rugby league in the summer with the juniors.
Yeah, so we have a lot of kids playing cricket in their Cas Panthers rugby kit with muddy knees and stuff, because they've come straight from.
Yeah.
And obviously schools are like Cas High School. It's like a comprehensive school, and it literally plays football and it literally plays rugby. Mm-hmm. So us and the school have built a relationship now. So it's like they're going to play cricket, they're going to play at Cas, and hopefully they can get more kids playing and into cricket that way. We've spoke to the school recently to say that if they haven't got a teacher that understands cricket, that we will send someone in to kind of run their cricket sessions. And it is that kind of getting the sweet spot between getting kids in and then kids who are already sporty and committed to sport. Mm-hmm. Will they enjoy cricket? But it's the bane of our like junior team manager's life, because when cricket and rugby clashes, rugby is what they pick.
It's difficult getting that springboard between kids that are coming down to play cricket and then into your Premier League team.
Yeah,
that's the difficult bit, because it's really easy to run sessions for kids, get them involved, get them playing cricket. When the hard ball comes out, it gets a little bit tougher, but most can handle it. But then Premier League cricket is an incredibly high standard, and you can't just find those kids. You could run 100, get 100 kids down, and you might get no Premier League cricketers out of that group of 100, mightn't you? So, and I don't know how clubs. Some clubs seem to manage this really, really well, where they're able to just get this flow coming through. But it's a difficult one.
And ironically, we've got one in the Yorkshire Leagues who showed that last year at Cleethorpes, where I think it was 80% of the league winning side were under 21.
Wow, yeah.
They've come through the juniors at Cleethorpes and gone through it. And I mean, that's quite unique. And we need to talk to the boys there about that, because that's got to be the dream for any club, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, we've seen it ourselves. Like I said to you in 2021, we won everything with a team of 21-year-olds. And that team was the team that I played under 15s cricket with, which, it's almost a golden generation. Now, don't get me wrong. I wish I could have another team that had Liam Hyde, Connor Hyde, Eddie Morrison, Luke Edwards, a team that in effect has made 7-8 Premiership cricketers. Wish I could have that again, but it's not. It doesn't look like it's coming kind of anytime soon. So I guess clubs kind of go through that patch, don't they, of almost having glory years, and then the reality is, as long as you can turn, junior cricketers into club cricketers and to get them into your senior setups, at the moment that's a win, because participation levels are so down that you need to keep the second team hungry. You need to keep feeding the local league clubs around you, and if that's from your junior setup and you get one who goes on and plays Premiership cricket, then you're happy, aren't you?
Definitely. Have you seen an impact locally this winter in terms of players with the introduction of the extra Premier League as well? Because obviously, as Hughes pointed out, the Huddersfield League is literally a hop, skip, and a jump from you guys. Yeah, and there's a lot of transfers going around that. Have you started to see that impact?
We're very lucky at Cass in terms of players don't particularly leave.
Yeah.
Now, I know who has spoken to like our players sort of thing, and I know kind of what there seems to be a lack of seamers. I think that's quite a thing in Yorkshire, that there aren't many seamers, and it's almost across every level. And obviously everyone wants runs and everyone wants a left arm spinner. So it's like if someone scored runs, it's likely that they're going to get a move to one of the big clubs because they're going to chuck the money at them. Or if someone balls left arm spin it's going to be like that. But there does seem to there's still a lot of talent in Yorkshire that there really is, and it just seems like your strong teams get stronger and your weaker teams get weaker, which is kind of my argument on the whole Premier League basis.
It's about finding that balance, isn't it? Because we do want the Premier League clubs to be as strong as possible and to be bringing the best players through, because that's going to create, whether it's the first class counties or the NCCA counties, the strongest pathway through to them. But you're right. When we've got the Airedale and Wharfdale League, we need that to be as strong as it's ever been to bring those players through to you guys. It's a domino effect, isn't it?
Of course it does. And I guess the bit that's probably frustrating is, the Wharf League, the Pontefract League, all those local leagues. If someone is scoring 1,000 runs in the top division of that league, I'm finding out who they are. And I know every other equivalent to me at every other club is finding out who they are.
Because we all can these days, it's easy.
Yeah. And if they think they're worth a punt, that they're getting given a go. And especially now with, you don't want to be, I don't want to be one of the people that kind of dwell on this, but especially now with the way that money is in club cricket, like people are just being given opportunity that probably isn't warranted as such. So it's saturating a market and it's saturating a kind of talent pool. But then sometimes you do see transfers and you go, that's really good business. Like, York this year, Tom Loughton, fantastic business. Like, really great for them. Harrogate, the Luxton brothers from Bradford and Bingley, really good business. Hoyle and Swain, Samit Patel, don't know.
We'll agree on that one.
He's a left arm. He's a left arm spinner.
He is a left. And
he's got a bit of pedigree.
He'll score a shed load of runs, and I'm sure he will take a shed load of wickets. Because
it's funny because there's another one you haven't mentioned in your league, which I find really intriguing. Seeing Johnny Tattersall go back to his home club at Knaresborough.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Completely.
He's doing a Wainers basically, isn't he? He's going to the club that he knows.
It's like if Studley Royal got promoted, you'd fully expect Ben Code to go and sign for Studley Royal, and that's kind of it's how it should be. Those Yorkshire lads, they're told they've got to play Premiership cricket. If they've come through a junior club and their junior club is in the Premiership, it's brilliant them getting to play for their home club, because you see what it means. Someone like Wainers, and you completely get it. So yeah, I'm glad Tats is at Knaresborough, and I'm sure that him as a player will want to be released more by Yorkshire to play more for Knaresborough.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at the table. I'm just looking at the table for last year. Just running through it. I mean, that's a strong league, isn't it? The Prem North. It's Hull came up last year, didn't they? And they did brilliantly straight out of the bat. They won big games, and then everybody up from there up, you got Driffield finishing 7th. I mean, they had a lad scoring over 1,000 runs and hitting 8 centuries on a trot, and they finished 7th.
So that's doing Noah Kelly, who got a contract for Yorkshire.
Yeah. You just look at it and you can see why these players are getting drawn into the league, because the strength of it.
Especially as a batter, a Drift is a bit of a batter's paradise. And me and Wayne said the other day, so they're going to have Noah Kelly, Alec Jury, and now Jack Redshaw from Scarborough. They are going to score a lot of runs at Driftfield.
Jack Redshaw, who was pointed out by Bumble on our pod pre-Christmas as one of the ones to watch.
Yeah. They're going to score a lot of runs.
Well, it's funny you talk about the seamers, though, and I'll bring it back round to that league. had, I think, 3 of the top 10 batters in the country Premier League last year. That's without Chris Holliday being brought in from Bradford League. You know,
Yeah.
are those pitches too much of a batting paradise, or are they just bloody good batters that we've got?
It's Cass into batting paradise, I'll
No,
tell you that. And
that's fair.
I'm sure every player in Yorkshire will tell you that. That's something we're really trying to work on. Um, we see good cricket.
Mm.
You see good battles. I mean, York is a really nice place to bat. Harrogate is a really nice place to bat. Clifton isn't a batter's paradise. So, you know,
So Bryn Llewellyn doing what he did.
yeah, what Bryn did was outstanding. Like, absolutely, utterly outstanding. As soon as Clifton won the league, you know, we're second, should be heartbroken. And I had to kind of say to myself, you have to look and go, fair play, because what an outstanding year, what an outstanding achievement from him to kind of, you know, and obviously Ed Wade batted really well and Sam Grant has, you know, bowled exceptionally well, but Bryn has just, I mean, he's just single-handedly won the league.
I mean, he's the best player in the country last season across the board. You know, he's chipped in, he was in the top 10 wicket takers as well, wasn't it? I mean, you can't get a better performance anywhere. So, and to lose to that is no shame.
Yeah. He got out for 10 both times against Cass. Just under
There
10.
we go. There we go.
Was it Wayners?
It wasn't actually, you know. I think it might have been Reese both times.
Found him out.
He got a duck at Clifton, but they beat us in. It was a low scorer, like a 160 all out. We might have been, and they might have been 160 for 7. And then we played them August Bank Holiday weekend at Cass and won, which we thought might make the running exciting, but then they won the week after and it was all over.
Exactly. We're talking a lot about your role as director of cricket, what's happened at Cass. You know, we started the pod off by saying, for those who don't know, because I was one of them last year, your day job acting on Coronation Street. How do you balance the two? Because I know acting's a funny job, isn't it, at the end of the day? You're in and out and doing this, that, and the other. But is it a balancing act for you, or is it something that sort of fills that time nicely?
A bit of both. It does fill the time nicely. It is a balancing job. It's one of them that at times I can be extremely busy, and at times I can not be busy. So I can turn as much attention as I possibly can to the cricket club, or sometimes I really just have to say to people, this needs doing, this needs doing, this needs doing. I'm not around. And now we're in a position where stuff gets done, but it is a lot of work, but it's a labour of love and it's a passion project. But yeah, don't get me wrong, it is a lot of work. And at times I do think, God, it'd be really easy if I could just take that weekend job, or if I could just do this.
Hang on a minute. We're getting to the crux of it now. Now, for those of you who don't know, you've basically been made redundant by Coronation.
I wish I got a redundancy package.
Okay. As all actors know, you've been fired. You're gone. Your character's on its way out, whatever it is, whatever the hell's happening. But you've got a couple more months, which just happens to finish, correct me if I'm wrong, just before the season starts.
Literally just before the season.
So whilst you are looking for some work, I'm sure, right now, you're also thinking, but also I could just be Mr. Cash full stop for the summer.
Yeah, I did think I could probably do the pre-season treatment on the ground, seeing as I'm going to have a lot of free time in April. I could do the heavy rolling.
But does that excite you, the thought of maybe having a little bit more time for a summer and actually digging in even more?
Yeah, it does. But for me, yes, I love Cass, but my career obviously does have to come first. But I am the sort of person who just is a bit of a workaholic. So wherever I am, I will work. I mean, the year Cass got promoted, I was in LA for 10 weeks and I'd still managed to do what I needed to do. And I might have sometimes.
Were you flying back for a game?
No, the two's are short. Can you come back?
Yeah, that's right.
No, I'd get a phone call from Wayne though, and he'd tell me what had happened, and I'd be like, "Oh God, do we need to do this? Do we need to do that?" But yeah, I mean, if I don't get any work this summer, I'll be at Cass every single night of the week. I would imagine, kind of.
Well, you won't need to be in Manchester as much, put it that way, will you?
Yeah, definitely
In
not.
the slightest.
I don't know if I'll sell the house and move straight back to Cass, but we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I do need to bring up, and Hugh, as soon as I start this, will know where I'm going with this. So, one of the things we're doing as a pod right now, and as our Premier League Cricket Club, is we're basically ripping an idea off. Like all the best TV programs do, to be frank. One of our far from a competitor pods is FC Bullard. And Jimmy and Fenners and what they're doing. Now, they're part of the same sports social podcast network as we are. And they're doing a phenomenal job of building the most mythical football club in the world. They've been in bloody theatres and all kinds already. I mean, God knows how they're doing it. But we've also done it a little bit. And what we've been doing with you today, Colson, is not just talking Cass, cricket, Premier League, and a little bit of Coronation Street, I suppose. But we're interviewing for a director of cricket. We've got your head coach. We are in charge of recruitment, by the way. Our chief analyst, Mr. Newsom, is obviously analysing everyone that's coming on board. I'm the chairman of the club. But we've got Tom Scollay from Cricket Mentoring as our head coach. So we've got an overseas head coach.
Yeah, you've got to get an overseas coach, haven't you? Because then you can sack them more easily.
It's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we'd love to offer you, if you'd fancy it, that role of, and he's a bit cheaper on the expenses than Scholes is, obviously, Hugh. Would you want to join us and come on board a couple of times during the year and talk a bit more cricket and be our director of cricket of the Premier League Cricket Club?
Get me on, yeah. 100%. I'm in. I've got a job. First job after Corrie. Come
there
on.
You go. And it's you're going to get paid the same as me and Hugh do, which is basically for all. But the key is that what we want on board and working with us during the year and bringing people on to talk about things is people who've got the same passion that we've got, and not just for cricket, but those two main words, Premier League cricket. And what we've discovered in the last 12 months, as you're well aware, is the more we put into it, the more we're getting out of it from people. The more clubs are messaging us, the more players are messaging us. Our transfer stuff that goes out every Tuesday during the winter at the moment, everybody, our website goes up in the air every Tuesday because people go and look what's been on there. That to us is what Premier League cricket's all about. And that's what your passion is, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And a bit like yourself, I sit on Twitter and I look at what every Premiership, especially around Yorkshire. But now, and the best thing is, I kind of, we talked about Didsbury off air, who we're playing in a pre-season. I will look at other clubs and I will look at their social media. I will see what they're doing and I will go, we can do that. I can do that better. I can do that, but I'll do it like this. And you don't, well, you steal ideas, don't you? And you kind of develop. And yeah, I love Premiership cricket.
And I've got to say, over to Hugh. What do you think about social media, Hugh?
Well, that's it. It's a good social media, a strong club. That's it.
Yes.
Full stop. Yeah. It's absolutely a guarantee that all the best clubs in this country.
It's just a sign of a well-run club, isn't it? That's what it is. It's just, and it's the way to communicate. And also, if you want to bring in, people from outside, people from your local area. As much as I hate social media, especially at the moment, it's that it works, doesn't it? It does in the right way. It connects people, and it connects people locally, and it grows your presence.
It definitely attracts people, like even players, even to the point of recruitment, especially like your younger players. Like they want to play at Cass because of the Instagram or because of the TikTok. It does a lot for the league. Like I put a little video on, like a 6-second video on of Rowie getting bounced by Johnny Moxon, and it is so quick you can hardly see the ball. And then I think I titled it something that you guys would like. I'd put, is the Yorkshire Premier League North the best Premier League in England? And then it kind of it sparked conversation because everyone's got their, obviously everyone loves their own league, but social media is the way to showcase what you've got, and we try and do that well. We do it well at Cass.
You do, and
down the indoor cricket centre, and somebody who's done a lot of social media as a lad called Rupert Hallows, who
yes,
a lot of people
TikTok
know.
Famous.
Absolutely, and he's down there at the indoor cricket centre, and my lad plays them a little bit, and my team was down there, and it's just a bunch of lads from the local club here, and they were like, that's Ruby Hallows. It's like Steve Smith had walked in the building.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Right, okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, brilliant. And they were absolutely buzzing. And like I say, when when I was a kid, there was a lad called Sonny Pike who was at Ajax, and we used to watch a video about Sonny Pike on the roll-in TV with the video recorder, probably before your time, Colson. And Sonny Pike was our hero because this lad had signed for Ajax when he was like 9 years old, and these kids are the Sonny Pikes of their generation, and it's brilliant. And the kids, they're not jealous, they're not threatened by this. They love it. They absolutely love it.
And they want to be a part of it because it feels so close and so like, obviously, so I do the social media cast, and obviously I'm always with the first team, but I've kind of said to the second team, I'm like, just video everything, just make some content, send me it, and I will do something with it because I want to see as much of the club as I can. And it's like, even when I've been down at the juniors, like a few of them that I know well, I'll just leave them the gimbal. And I'll be like, just have this at nets, and whatever you do something with. And even if I just get a 3-second video of them saying, meet Ryan, he's the under-18s captain. Fine, done, brilliant. But that it shows what you've got, doesn't it? Really well.
Yeah.
It does, and without
a 3-second gimbal of a cricket ball coming straight into the camera. That's basically what would happen if
and then they would never get spoken to again. You're not playing in the second team this weekend.
It's fair to say, Colson, I'm very proud to say that the day I spent at Cass at the end of September last year is our third largest day on socials over the whole year.
Get in.
Only beaten by 2 national finals.
Yeah, I was going to say that's about right as well, isn't it? I should think.
Yeah, and to be fair, you were beaten by a bowl-off. When it had rained all bloody day at Derbyshire, you were still beaten by a bowl-off. But the amount of content I put out and the amount of stuff I kept putting out, the amount of clubs who were following it around there was brilliant. And I think that sums up, for me, what club cricket's all about right now, what Premier League cricket's all, and what cricket in Yorkshire's all about, because it was a special day, no matter what. It was bloody cold by the end of it, but it was a special day. And it just showed what the best of Premier League cricket's all about. And I think that's why we wanted to get you on to talk nothing but Premier League cricket. If 1 or 2 Coronation Street fans decide they want to follow cricket as well, that's fine by us. We don't. We'll take it from anywhere, Hugh, won't we?
Well, my gran was a big Coronation Street fan, and she was from Dewsbury and a big cricket fan as well. So the two are in line there. The two are in line.
Have I got the wrong demographic then somehow?
I think so.
It's being brought up in Liverpool when Brookside was the thing. You see,
that's it. Yeah,
Team Brooklyn.
It's been great chatting, Colson. We're definitely going to keep in touch, mate. We're definitely going to see what's cracking off with you guys during the summer. I'm going to say right now, I think the Yorkshire North League, alongside, and Hugh knows where this is going, the Cornwall League.
Oh, yes.
Could be 2 of the leagues to really watch it. You couldn't get any further bloody apart.
Wow, yeah.
But in terms
at least we know if one's raining, the other one won't be, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Well, it's Cornwall that'll rain early.
I have to say, the Cornwall League, I don't think it's on my saved tabs on Google.
It's funnily enough, they're all on ours, aren't they, right now? Great to chat, mate. Keep in touch.
Cheers, gents.
We'll talk to you very soon about. We might catch up again, maybe even at Didsbury. You never know.
Yeah, pre-season.
Ooh.
All the best, mate.
It's not far from me. Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us at the Premier League Cricket Club. We'll be back soon with more from the world of Premier League and NWCA cricket. But in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review and follow us wherever you get your socials. Or maybe check out our website, premierleaguecricket.co.uk, to stay updated. Until next time, have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Right now, get up to a $15 gift card after rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Oh,